Hey friend, thank you for tuning back into my channel. In today's video, I will be sharing my most worn Arabian fragrances for last month and even the ones I've been reaching for a lot this month. So if you're interested in seeing what those are, then please stay tuned. Hey friend, welcome back to the channel. So I am really excited about talking fragrance with you today. But before we jump in, if you're new here on this channel, I make videos on lifestyle, luxury, I do review videos to include fragrance talk, and I also sprinkle in a little bit of my motherhood journey in my monthly vlogs. So if any of those things interest you, go ahead and hit that subscribe button because I would love to have you here. And also be sure to turn on that notification bell so you know exactly when my videos drop. All right, let's get into it. First of all, before we get into this video and these fragrances, I have talked about every single one of these fragrances before. So I will be putting cards for the videos where I referenced these fragrances in at different points of this video. So if there's a fragrance that you want a little bit more info on, then go ahead and click the links above to go back to the videos where I spent a little bit more time on each one. I'm not going to get into too many details regarding notes, but I will pop the notes on the screen for your reference. So let's jump right in. So this first one is one that I'm obsessed with, and it is one of my most worn Arabian perfumes, and that is Nan Edict Amber Thyme. Y'all, this is a beautiful masterpiece of a fragrance. As you've heard me say before, it mimics BR 540, except this is creamier, denser, sweeter. I love, love, love the depth and the weight and just the substance of this fragrance. I think it's so beautifully done. This is also very long lasting, and I love the projection I get on this during the first 3 to 4 hours. As you can see, I have been wearing this. I've not had it for too long, but I have been wearing this. And what I love about this is you don't need too much. This is going to cling onto your clothes, particularly that saffron note. You're going to smell this after you wash your clothes. That's how potent this is, and that's also how long lasting this fragrance is. It's so good. So this is the first one, Nan Edict Amber Thyme. So this next one has a DNA that is really unique. I've not smelled anything like this fragrance before, and what drew me to this particular fragrance was the honey and the marshmallow notes that are in here. When I saw honey and I saw marshmallow, I got excited, and this is very unique. It's a very unique fragrance. I've talked about it in a previous video, so I will link that here. But this is Forbidden Sugar by Amir, Paris Corner, and this fragrance is supposed to be a dupe or a clone of Frank Beauclay's Sugar. While I have never smelled the original, I do really enjoy what Paris Corner, particularly their Amir line, puts out. I think they are quality fragrances, and so I've no doubt that this probably smells exactly like the original, but I just love, love, love the juice in this bottle. It's very unique. It's so different than anything I have. When I first spray this, I get a blast of those really sweet honey candy note. And then I get like a little bit of a, not a soapy, but an aftershave vibe. And it's very fresh, but like sweet at the same time. And I think it's because it has a bergamot in the opening. And also the opening is a bit sharp. That sweetness is very sharp around the edges. But later in the wear, that changes. This softens. It gets a lot less sharp. And it just gets very smooth and sweet and fluffy and honeyed. And it's just a really, really unique fragrance. Yeah, I love this one. I love how light and fluffy it feels, yet very sweet. It's like an overdose of sweet, like a candy sweetness. The dry down is a bit musky, a bit powdery, but that sweetness is still there. And this is overall a very interesting and unique fragrance. It's not dense or thick or rich. It's a very light, sweet, fluffy, honeyed candy fragrance. That's how I would describe this. It's very unique, very unique. So I reach for this when I am right out of the shower, when it's a bit warmer and I want to feel really fresh. I want a fresh scent for very long. That's when I reach for this. It gives me that dose of sweetness, that dose of honey, that freshness, and I love that this dries down to like a little bit powdery and musky, so it gets soft yet still remains sweet. So this is Forbidden Sugar by Amir. I believe that's a Paris Corner line of fragrances. So my next fragrance is one that we don't typically associate with Arabian brands when we talk about it, but it is based in UAE. And I think the reason why we disassociate is probably because they work with a lot of amazing and beautiful YouTube content creators, and the brand I'm talking about is Navitus, and this fragrance is one that I've been wearing nonstop, and it's the most worn for sure. I've talked about it ad nauseum on this channel, and that is Mani Castanad. So I will link all the videos where I talked about this fragrance in the description, or I'll put a card in this video so you can watch those videos and get more of my in-depth thoughts about this fragrance. But this fragrance is so good. I love how this fragrance is very, very sweet. It's like a true gourmand fragrance. However, it's not overly foody, it's not juvenile, it's not childish. You're not going to walk around smelling like food, because this one has an amberwood that I feel really grounds it and gives it a bit more body, classes it up a little bit, and to me this fragrance is like an open container of ice cream. I say that this reminds me of a dulce de leche ice cream because it has like a sweet and salty component. Yeah, the sweet and salty components are kind of playing with one another in this fragrance, and I love how they balance each other. This doesn't ever get too sweet, and it's almost like you have an open container of ice cream that has ice cream that's been sitting for just a few minutes out of the freezer. You let it melt a little bit just so you can work your spoon through it, or you've just finished your bowl of ice cream and that's the scent that's wafting up to your nose. That's what Mani Castanad smells like to me. There is a toffee note in here, so the more I experience this fragrance, I realize that sweet saltiness, that stickiness, that dulce de leche essence is probably the toffee note that's in here. And this is just gorgeous. It's so sophisticated and refined. This is a compliment getter. I've gotten several compliments on this. Whenever I wear it, I get a compliment. And so I love this fragrance. It's one of my most worn because it smells like an expensive vanilla gourmand. This is perfectly done and I love it. So this is Mani Castanad by Navitus under the direction of Sharita here on YouTube. The next fragrance is another collaboration between Navitus and Paulina Shar here on YouTube, and this is Lost in a Dream. So Lost in a Dream is quite an interesting fragrance, and I have found myself reaching for it more and more and more. And I reach for this fragrance when I want to feel comforted, when I want to feel fresh and clean and crisp. And this is not a clean or fresh fragrance whatsoever. This is a creamy, milky fragrance. I get a little bit of almond in the opening. I get lots and lots of milk in this fragrance. I get lots of that orchid flower as well. It's very prominent to my nose, and this is also very woody. So this is a very interesting fragrance, very complex. This also has this fantasy croissant note, and the croissant is just kind of peeking through. It's like playing a game of peekaboo, where you can sense that there's some buttery, bready texture, but it's not overly bready, it's not overly buttery. It's just the perfect amount, and it balances the notes very, very nicely. This is the type of fragrance that I wear when I want to feel comforted, cozy, perfect for bedtime. And that's when I've been reaching for this one. I love this one. It's so good. This is very feminine, very soft, very creamy, very milky. It's beautiful. It's beautifully done. The reason why I love this one is because it makes me feel very clean and comforted, similar to the way my Burberry Her Elixir makes me feel, because Burberry Her Elixir is very creamy, soft, it's very feminine, and those are the vibes with this fragrance as well. So this is another one that I have been reaching for over and over again, more and more. This is Lost in a Dream by Navitus and Paulina Shar. This next fragrance is so yummy, so delicious, and it is so realistic. If you love coffee, you will probably understand my love for this fragrance. And this is Al Rahab's French Coffee. French coffee is so good, y'all. It is a very realistic coffee fragrance. So if you don't want to go around smelling like coffee, then you probably shouldn't wear this. You probably won't like this. But for me, I love coffee, and this is one that I've been reaching for over and over again because it's that good. It's that good. So this opens up with a very robust dark roast scent. So it's like a dark roast coffee in the opening, and then as it wears, it gets sweeter and creamier. Similar to when you pour a fresh cup of coffee and it's very hot, and the essence of the coffee, the strength of that coffee kind of wafts up to your nose. That's what you get when you first spray this. Then you go to the fridge, you grab your creamer or your milk, and you slowly pour it into the coffee, and it slowly incorporates, and as it incorporates, you watch the milk milk sort of create these swirls in your cup. That is what the wear of this fragrance feels like. This fragrance opens up like your fresh pour of hot coffee that is dark and deep. Then as this wears, it gets creamier and sweeter, similar to when you're pouring in that milk or that creamer, how it slowly incorporates. That's how this fragrance wears. And this fragrance also gives off the essence of like a stevia, like the sugar, like the sweetness is not a straight sugar. And one of you mentioned that this gives off coconut to you, like coconut milk. And I think we're experiencing the same thing or something similar, because I could see coconut milk. I could see something that's not straight milk or straight sugar in this fragrance, especially as it begins to dry down. I get like a stevia, like a sugar substitute. So this is so yummy. So good. And as this has sat and macerated, it has gotten a lot better as far as performance. I know I mentioned that this doesn't perform very long, but after having it for a while now, it's gotten better, y'all. It's gotten so much better and I love it. I think this performs like your typical eau de parfum, with the first few hours being a very noticeable and prominent sillage and projection, then later creating a scent bubble that is very long lasting and will give you about another 3 to 4 hours of wear. So I love French coffee. It's one of my faves, one of my most worn. And if you don't have this and you love coffee, what are you waiting for? So this last one is going to be that girl for this spring and especially this summer. This is going to sit right next to Valaya by Parfum de Marly on my perfume tray this summer, because this is what I'm going to be reaching for. And that is Lattafa's Bade al Oud Sublime, and Sublime it is. It's so sublime, so good. This is your burst of fruit juice. This opens up like a fresh cup of juice, but it's not overly sweet or overly juicy because it also has a rose note. So this is like a cocktail, like a fruit cocktail with lychee and apple. Then this develops into a plum and jasmine heart, and I feel like the heart notes just make it even sweeter and denser, and it really warms up to the vanilla and the moss at the base of this fragrance. So this fragrance is really beautiful. I love that it is very playful yet also very sexy, and it just dries down to a fruity and vanillic base that is offset by that moss, so that it never gets overly sweet, overly fruity, overly juvenile. It's a playful and sexy fragrance that is so fresh and effervescent, and it's going to be perfect this summer. So yeah, y'all, Bade al Oud Sublime is that girl, and she's going to be worn a lot this summer because I've already been reaching for her. Whenever it warms up, I reach for her. Our weather patterns have been all over the place. Some days it's hot, some days it's cold, and this I reach for every time it's hot. I love this fragrance. I'm absolutely obsessed, and that's why it's in the most worn. All right, friend, thank you so much for being here. I'm so grateful for you. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up on your way out. And before I go, if no one has told you this week, this month, this year, you are so loved. God loves you, and so do I. I will see you in the next video very soon. Mwah. Bye.